Well, hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome again to Besson Fridays at Home. This is our second episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the first episode, and thank you especially for the great feedback which we had from that episode. I hope you're going to enjoy this episode just as much. As you can see from the screen, we've got my usual colleagues and some really special guests for you this evening. So sitting alongside me, we have Besson Ambassador Stephen Mead and Roger Webster. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Great to see you again.
And our special guest this week, I'm delighted to welcome two Besson artists. First of all, Shona White, Master of the Tenor Horn. Good evening, Shona.
Hi, nice to see you all.
Great for you to join us. And of course, Mark Wilkinson, one of the best cornet players in the world. Good evening to you, Mark.
Evening, thank you.
So this is the team we have assembled for you this week. So it's been a fortnight since we've been on. Steve, what have you been up to in the last fortnight?
Well, I mean, as you know, I've been trying to keep really busy with some online stuff, made some duet recordings. Last night I actually recorded a polka for a village band in Hungary, which no one has seen before. I've been down south a few times, and I've had a couple of visits to the Dennis Wick factory for some design work, but I can't see any more than that at the moment.
Okay, so you're getting out and about a little bit anyway, which is nice.
Sure, yeah. I think we're allowed to now.
Yeah, I think we're allowed to go to Durham or something, aren't we? I'm not really sure.
Anyway,
I was just checking my eyesight in the Dennis Wick factory. Obviously.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, Roger, similar sort of thing for you. What have you been up to?
Well, I promised to do some exercise, didn't I?
You did, yeah. So
yeah.
No, I didn't. I've not done any sport, but I have done plenty of exercise. I've been helping to convert my son's garage into a gym. So that involved a few tons of cement, 4. We've only put 3 in so far. Really big girders, and lots of stonework, and then building an outdoor kitchen for him. So yeah, I've been doing that. He's not come to see me once. He's just sat in his office working, just leaves me and the very able crew that are doing all the work while I just mix cement and just carry blocks of, concrete blocks and stone around. So that's what I've been doing. It's been really exciting.
Yeah, that for me, that definitely counts as exercise. I did give you a big tick in that box. Well done.
Thanks.
And so, as I mentioned, we've got two very, very special guests this evening, and let's talk firstly to our first special guest, Shona White. Of course, doesn't really need any introduction, but to get the ball rolling, let's have a little look at this video and listen to some of the wonderful playing of Shona White on the tenor horn. So welcome, Shona, to Besson Fridays at Home.
Thanks, Phil. And can I just correct you, by the way? It's actually Shona White. I'm Mrs. Wade at school and everything else, but for horn playing, it's Shona White.
Right, okay. Consider myself corrected, Mrs. White. Apologies. I think actually, I mean, most people will know you as Shona White in your pre-married days. Obviously did a long stint with YBS during their glory years, and you played with a lot of the top bands, Foden's and Black Dyke, and of course most recently probably with Brighouse and Raspic. But I don't think you're with a band at the moment, so can you just start by telling us a little bit about your current musical life and what you get up to these days?
So well, my current musical life, my life has not changed that much since lockdown began. I work in an independent girls' school, so we're still teaching 100% full-time every lesson via Zoom. And we're very lucky that all the girls have iPads, we have iPads, so we can still deliver really, really brilliant lessons actually. But for me, I'm a bit of a technophobe. It's been a bit of a challenge to start with, but I feel like I'm really getting somewhere now, which is really good. Things that I would never have thought I would do before, like teach actually brass lessons and sort of do that as well. I would always just have said, no, I'm not doing that. And now yeah, okay, I'll try. So as far as teaching goes, I'm still doing my day job, and I teach a young man from the Brass for Africa scheme every Saturday morning at the moment, called Alan on tenor horn, and he is just the best student I've ever had in my entire life. He practices for about 5 hours a day, sends me recordings of what he's done every day. He's just amazing. So I have a couple of horn students that I teach, and of course I just play all the time. I'm still exactly the same player as I was playing in a band and not in a band. So I still do my daily practice every day and love playing. So that hasn't changed.
I know you do a lot of solo work and what have you, guest soloist with bands, or rather you do when the lockdown isn't on. And I think you do a fair amount of adjudication, it seems to me, as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, that's been quite eye-opening, and it was very daunting to start with, especially when you end up sort of adjudicating some of your peers and colleagues that you've worked with for a long time. I've been doing it for nearly 2 years now, so I'm feeling a lot more confident with it, and it's really great. It's helped me and improved me so much in my musicality and just my general being a musician, actually being on the other side and having to apply those things. And of course I've experienced everything that everyone has gone through on that stage multiple times, so it's quite nice to sort of give something back. And being a teacher, we're very positive with our comments, so it's been quite a nice transition. So yeah, I'm enjoying it now.
There are lots of similarities between the teaching and the adjudication, I find, anyway, in terms of critical listening. So yeah, it's great to see your name more and more on the adjudication list. But I mean, your instrument is the tenor horn, which everyone knows that's the best brass instrument to play.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Anyone who
fighting talk.
Ex-tenor horn player myself. But so you tell us a little bit about your beginnings with the tenor horn, Shona. Why the tenor horn, and where did it all start for you?
Well, I did actually play the cornet for a little while, I think, as most people do. We had a brilliant system in Scotland, where I'm from, obviously. Had to throw that in there. And we didn't pay for lessons. We had a brilliant teacher, and everyone basically was allowed to play if they wanted to. So it was really brilliant. And my big sister played. Because she played, I got given an instrument, really. It was just, if she can do it, you must be able to do it. I was very, very shy, very introvert when I was young. So the one thing that seemed to help me with those anxieties was playing. So my family really encouraged me to keep doing that, and I just practiced, really. Bit of a shadow, but I loved it.
Were you doing a lot of solo playing when you were young, or did that come later just with the bands?
Well, we didn't do grade exams where I came from, so we kind of got bundled into a minibus and driven around the sort of Scottish solo circuit as the equivalent of doing that. So I think that just became a bit of a natural thing for me. It was something that actually I didn't fear. Whereas if I had to walk into a room with a load of people that I'd never met before, that would just have absolutely petrified me. But playing was fine. So yeah. And then obviously get to university stage, and it was never an option. I was going to university, so it was which one, where, what you're doing. And at the time, there were very few places that took the tenor horn. So it was 1992 when I went to university, so I went down to Salford. I did try to go to the Royal Academy in Glasgow, but they wouldn't even give me an audition. I shall shame them now. So went to Salford, and again, these days people really seek out who they want to learn from. In those days, I was so naive. I didn't have a clue. It was just, there was an advert in the Bandsman, and my teacher said, "Oh, I think you want to go here, go here." Went down, had my audition, didn't know who. I mean, there was David King, Nick Childs, Pete Graham, all these amazing people. I didn't know who any of them were. So I think I was just the sort of perfect little sort of person to just say, "All right, we'll teach you. You seem to not know anything and be affected by anything." But the one thing was, everyone where I came from was female that played. So obviously coming down to Manchester and sort of a couple of days into the course and people saying, oh, you can't play for this band and you won't be able to play for this band and you won't be able to play for this band. Why? Oh, because you're a girl. Oh, right, okay. And it was like, okay. And me just went, yeah, that's fine. So I just kept playing with my band in Scotland, kind of just going up and doing the contest with them until sort of things progressed. And then obviously with David being my teacher, ended up at YBS. And then it kind of goes from there. But my final year at university, I did a huge competition, which was for all orchestral instruments, and luckily I won that, and it was really amazing. And that for me was kind of the moment, I think, that I realized, oh, actually I can do this. this is quite cool. And sort of my career just kind of went from there.
Yeah, you went on to win the BBC competition as well, didn't you? Is that the Radio 2 Young Musician of the Year? And I think we've got some footage to show from that competition as well. And so how many years did you do with YBS, Shona?
I think it's 12. I'm still trying to 11 or 12. I'm not sure. Yeah, a long time. These days.
and many successes on the way.
Yeah, certainly in the European. I mean, you just kind of owned that contest for the 12 years, didn't you?
Yeah. But we really didn't think anything at the time that we were sort of doing that. It's only now when we look back and you just realize how amazing that actually was, and
I
really wish
understand
I'd experienced it a bit more.
I understand you've taken the opportunity during lockdown to actually take the time to kind of look back over those YBS years. What have you been doing?
Yeah, well, when I go places, and obviously like you guys, you've probably been doing a lot of these Zoom sort of masterclasses and chats, and the one thing people always ask is, what was it really like to play in YBS? And it just happened so many times, and my husband and I were just walking the dog around our local park and said, I really, we don't have any archive or anything really from the players that were actually in that band, and people ask me all the time. So I'm going to see if we can just do a little Zoom chat one afternoon. I'm going to pick a few people. Obviously there were so many people that you could have chosen, but I kind of chose the ones that I thought were quite iconic in the big sort of picture of it all. And we just had a really wonderful chat, and it's been so nice. I haven't seen a lot of them for years and years and years, and now we're all back in touch as well. And I keep getting people sending me videos and recordings. I had somebody actually that used to play in the band sent me 2 YBS polo shirts last week that he'd randomly found in his wardrobe. So it's just nice, and we don't have an archive. The band is like no other band really. Every other band still exists and still functions to the same name and everything, whereas that was such an iconic time.
So, and I mean, what's next for you, Shona? Are we going to see you playing regularly with a band again, or what's in your future?
I don't know. I'm never say never. Okay, and that I will say that right now.
Hey.
But actually, oddly, I've gone. Probably it's the lockdown that's made me start thinking, oh, you know what, I really miss the art of playing the tenor horn in a band. And that might sound strange to lots of people, but my favourite thing is not actually playing solos. My favourite thing is building the best horn section I can get within the band I'm playing, influencing everyone else, getting the actual sound of that core sound dominating the band. I'm really passionate about that, and I really like it. So I miss that. I don't miss being absolutely shattered the next day after rehearsal, having to go to work. I'm getting on a bit now. I do my concentration levels are really not the same, sort of, as in occasionally I have nearly blobbed in contests with things just because, and I think it's my age, it must be, and sort of like get a bit of a nudge from the person next to me, no, not yet. It's like, oh, okay. So I think just because I'm so busy with work, it's hard to kind of juggle everything. So the balance that I have at the moment for my mental health and my physical health, I love, but never say never.
Shona, I wish we had more time to talk to you, but we're kind of out of time for your slot. But it's always great to catch up with you. So thank you so much for being our first guest this evening on Besson Fridays at Home.
Oh, you're welcome. Pleasure.
Moving on to you now. Obviously, it's brilliant to have a cornet player of your caliber here with us this evening. I remember first meeting you when we were both at the National Youth Brass Band together, but for me now, I can't imagine you and Foden's band kind of not being an item together. You're a real mainstay of the band. So how long have you been there now, and what's your story with Foden's there over those years?
So I joined Foden's in January '92, so I've been there 28 and a half years.
Whoa.
The journey to Foden's came from Nicholas Childs. I knew Nicholas from National Youth Brass Band. He was the euphonium tutor, and at the time he was also solo euphonium at Foden's. And Martin Winter, who was principal cornet at Foden's at the time, had just got the job at the BBC Orchestra, so Foden's were looking for a new principal cornet. So Nick recommended me to Howard, and then I was asked to go to the Royal Northern in December '91 to do an audition with Howard, and then I was later offered the job, and 28 and a half years later I'm still there.
Wow.
It's
incredible.
An incredible achievement. Yeah. It really is, and you don't seem to lose any of your class at all. Like I remember hearing it myself. So I mean, how old were you when you went to Foden's? You were a teenager still, were you?
About 5. 20.
There we are. And
so we've got a nice photograph of you with Howard Snell, haven't we?
Let's have a look at that.
So we'll have a look at that.
Oh yes.
I mean, Howard's been a mentor to so many people, so he must have been a big influence during those years.
Yes, he was a big influence during those early years, and I still keep in touch with me. Still gives me regular advice, and for me, it's just always been that sort of amazing figure. So I've got a lot of respect for Howard, and I also owe him a very lot as well.
Yeah. I mean, and there's other fantastic conductors you've worked with over the years at Foden's, none more so than Bram Tovey, of course, as well. I imagine you're quite close with him too.
Yes, Foden started working with Bramwell back in 2000, and again, he's just a figure who oozes respect. He's really down to earth. The rehearsals are enjoyable, structured, and very productive, and it's just a privilege for Foden's to be associated with the Bram, and he's also our president as well.
A great close connection.
Yeah.
So I mean, so tell us about the years before you went to the hot seat in Foden's, which you've been there for nearly 3 decades now. It's an amazing achievement. But how did you actually get there?
So I started playing when I was 6. A letter came from the local band, which was the Ellenbrook and Boothstown Band in Manchester, just to see if anyone was interested in having lessons with the band. I started with the band when I was 6, and then when I was 10, I moved to the Wartling Band, and the conductor at the time was Gordon Higginbottom. Stayed with Wartling until I was 14, and then I was asked to join Bessie's Boys Band on principal cornet. So I joined Bessie's Boys when I was 14. They were a youth band, but they started competing in adult competitions. So we started off in the 4th section, and then we went all the way up to the 2nd section. Stayed with Bessie's Boys for 4 years. Probably the most memorable time with them was we toured Australia as part of Expo for a month. So there was 50 lads, all under the age of 19, on this train travelling down the Gold Coast. There was the committee members, and then there was an all-girls Danish marching band on the train as well.
That's rotten.
Yeah, they were great times.
That's rotten luck, isn't it?
With Bessie's Boys. And then I joined Wingates in 1990, And again, the contact from Wingates came from David James. David James was the cornet tutor at the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain. And he was conductor at Wingates, so he asked me would I be interested in joining Wingates. So I joined Wingates, and then I joined Phones in '92. So during that time, I also became principal cornet with the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain. So I've been a principal cornet since I was 14, and I'm 49 now.
Wow. So, Roger, in '92, were you still at Black Dyke then?
Yes. Yeah, that was my first venture with Black Dyke.
Okay. So you guys have never played together because of the longevity of Mark?
No, never played in a band together.
I've been in about 20 bands in the time Mark's been at Foden's. I didn't think you're allowed to stay in a band more than 7 years. I think that's the longest I've done. Or perhaps that's just me.
No, it's not just you, Roger.
All right, that's all right then. I've got a question for Mark. How do you manage to keep your playing fresh and exciting when you're playing in a band and when you've been in a band for so long? I mean, it would be very easy to get stale and a bit blasé about what you do, but every time I excite you are one of my favourite cornet players. I like listening to you play. It always sounds as if every piece matters, every note matters, and that must be difficult, is it not?
Thank you very much for that compliment, Roger. Thank you. So I think I'm still motivated. I'm still as keen as I was 30 years ago to play well. Great. I want to better myself. I want to learn. I want to be the best player I can. I still enjoy playing. I enjoy the banding community, the social aspect. I enjoy pressure, which I know is probably a bit strange to say. The more pressure, I seem to strive off the pressure. So I still practice. I do. Even in lockdown, I have the children during the day, so I'm trying to homeschool. So I go to the band room and do an hour's practice every night, 9 till 10, and then come back and then start doing my own work. So I'm really motivated, and I just really do enjoy playing, and especially at Foden's.
The band have been doing great, haven't they, during the lockdown? A bit like Corey Band, you've been doing some wonderful activities.
Yeah, it's. I think it's difficult for everyone whilst in lockdown. How do you keep players motivated probably to stay in the band, but also to practice? So we've done a number of these virtual band recordings, which are good for the players to keep in touch. It gives us something to work towards, and it also gives us some sort of presence online. The number of views I know, especially Corey's get from doing these types of events, are far greater than any audience we would get sort of performing live. So we enjoy them, keeps us in practice, and it sort of keeps our name sort of out there as well.
And tell us a little bit about the virtual Whit Friday March contest you did, because I watched some of that and it just looked amazing.
Yeah, so Foden's made a successful application to Arts Council England as part of its COVID-19 funding. We worked with Carol Hurst, who's a vice president of the band, and she put our application in. Part of the application was to deliver projects online, to sort of try and interact with new audiences, and the Whit Friday event was one of the ideas that we had for that. The support we've had. Sorry,
it's that BBC News moment, isn't it?
Yeah, like
that's fantastic.
So yeah, the support we've received was fantastic. We've had 90 bands enter the competition from 12 different countries. We had 43 different matches. And prior to the live stream that went out, we uploaded the 90 videos to the Foden's Facebook page, and across those 90 videos, we've had 387,000 views.
Wow!
It's just been fantastic. And when we've looked at the Google Analytics, the views have been from 19 different countries, including Kenya, Indonesia, Russia.
Wow!
So we've got a video clip, Mark, from the band that was awarded an award for the, what was it, some special presentation award?
Yeah, so as well as having sort of the first, second and third, we had the 4 Bars Rest Award that showed the most innovation. And this badass video won that award, which is the 4 Bars Rest Award.
So let's watch a bit of that now.
Yeah.
so that was part of the Badass Brass performance from the Foden's virtual online Whip Friday contest, which won the Innovation Award. And of course, you know, Foden's innovation has been fantastic during this lockdown. We've all really enjoyed watching what you've come up with. Have you got any other grand plans coming up for the lockdown?
Yes, so as part of the application, we'd submitted plans to do some other online competition events that we'll be announcing shortly. We won a very successful solo competition. We're looking at holding that online as well. So we've got lots of plans, and we just want to try and build our following up on social media. It's a platform to sort of sell yourself and get views, like we said, all around the world.
So
Yeah,
I've just got one question for you, Mark.
Okay.
As long as I've known you, you've always been a really calm, cool guy. Is there anything that winds you up? Have you ever lost your temper? Never seen it.
Children walking in interviews.
That's all. Well, that's not bad.
No, I think I'm quite laid back. I don't get stressed. I don't see any point in getting stressed, and I think it's just my nature. And I think probably this laid back attitude, I think that probably helps the mental side when it comes to playing under pressure. I don't get stressed out. I just don't see the point and any advantage in getting stressed out. So I just try to stay as relaxed and calm as possible.
Well, thank you to you, Mark, for being our second special guest this evening. It's really good to kind of lift the lid a little bit on your psyche and some of your experiences as well.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. And in actual fact, we're going to continue the discussion now, but all five of us are going to be contributing. So, of course, ladies and gents, feel free to jump in. One of the things we wanted to address on these Besson Fridays at home are the topical issues of the day and things that are affecting brass bands especially. And of course, in the news quite a lot of late has been the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm sure none of us have missed this great story which has spread around all of the world. And I think probably amongst the five of us here, we can probably agree that within brass bands, it's safe to say that there are certain communities which are very underrepresented or not represented at all in the demographic of brass bands. And black people would definitely be amongst that. I mean, I don't think there's any evidence, but just, you know, from what I see, I mean, does everyone else kind of feel that is the case?
Yeah. I think it's been for a long time, though, hasn't it?
It's been a long time, Roger.
It's always been like that in banding. At one point, it was working class people didn't think they could have a career in music outside the amateur movement. And that's progressed now, and thankfully anybody from any background can go to music college. But in terms of minority people coming in brass bands and in orchestras in general, I think orchestras are now open to whatever, and I think bands are. It's just, what do we do about allowing people access? I think it's more about access than the movement itself. Yeah. I think, as you know, we've all played in weird and wonderful bands. Shona, when she came down from Scotland, witnessed the dark side of banding when women weren't allowed in certain bands, and that must have been horrific. I can't imagine, because I've never had prejudice thrown at me in any way. You know, nobody's worrying about my hair or anything like that. So I've never been at the receiving end of it. But to be denied something because of either your sexuality, your gender, or the colour of your skin, it's got to be one of the most horrific things to go through. I don't think bands have barriers. I think it's maybe the teaching profession that need to do and I hate using the word positive discrimination or recruiting, but just allow access to people and make it known that it is an environment that they can go and they can be welcomed and that's safe and it's nurturing, all the things that Sheona and people do as teachers.
There's been quite a few innovations within the classical side in orchestras. There's a lady who's actually got an OBE, and she's still in her 30s. Chichi Naoka.
Well, it was an oboe.
She formed the Chineke ensemble, which is for black and ethnic minority people, and they've done some really groundbreaking work, crossover work with different styles of music. So there are things that are happening, and I think it's for the brass band movement to catch up a little bit now. I think we are playing catch up, and it starts in here. It starts with youth bands, and then it'll continue with a continuity from players from youth bands into the senior bands. And we should all be open and welcoming, and just do what we can, not only to break down, you know, if you like, the current situation, the status quo, but to positively encourage people from these groups to join our movement and be an integral part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I sorry, Phil.
Go on, Sheona.
I don't actually teach much brass at my school. I teach sort of general music from year 3 right up to A level, and but we've already had meetings and discussions, and our curriculum will be changing hugely from September, where we will be everything that we look at will be much more inclusive to try and just involve everybody from every culture, rather than just what we are or what we know or all we know. Like we said, Phil, it's what we know, it's who we are. So so there's a lot of work going into that. So I know that just generally from trying to get, I work in a girls' school, so there's an equivalent boys' school, and there is still this gender thing where boys play brass and girls don't. So I'm obviously trying to change that a lot. But you do have that sort of feeling in when it's an all-girls school that the music cultures come from home, and the influences are from there, and it's up to us to actually broaden that. And for me to, for example, play a brass band in my music lessons, you know, and say, look, this is really cool, this is what you could do. So yeah.
Yeah, I think brass bands, you know, have as you've just said, Roger, I mean, certain groups have been excluded in the history of brass bands, haven't they? So we've been a very, very sort of conservative with a small c movement. And there has been, even in recent history, as Shona's already, you know, told us earlier, there has been examples of exclusion in bands where women not allowed in, or, you know, if you've got a certain job, you're not allowed in. So I do think, you know, it's up to people in brass bands to now be a lot more proactive in not about exclusion, but it's about inclusion, isn't it? It always seems to me that the brass bands have got such a great kind of community angle to offer. Not just any race of community, really. Any community at all can jump on the bandwagon of what the brass bands can offer in terms of a community. Everyone jumping on with an instrument that's really easy to play. You just blow in one end and the sound comes out, and then you can, you know, music's really easy to access, and you can tap straight into those things that build the community. You know, working towards a shared objective and all the rest of that, and that is translatable from white communities to black communities to women to men to whatever class. It's all there, isn't it? I feel quite strongly that, you know, I certainly am going to try and be a lot more proactive in this inclusion thing rather than thinking about the exclusion.
Yeah. Well, Foden's, we have a number of educational partners, so we're currently liaising with them for any ideas and any projects that we can do to interact with BAME musicians, to learn about their music, their cultures, and vice versa, sort of what brass bands do, and how we can possibly integrate those musicians into our sort of community.
Well, it's good to hear. It's good to hear examples, and the one you raised as well, Steve. But I think we probably all agree we need to do a lot more for this, don't we? Because you know, the situation as it is at the moment, it doesn't look right, and we need to be very proactive about it. There's a lot of food for thought.
Totally agree, Phil. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. One of the other things that we want to try and feature in the Besson Fridays at home is news from Besson itself. And Roger, I know you've been having more of a look at these the Besson student brand, the Prodige cornet. Can you give us a bit of an update on that?
Well, yeah, I was sent one of these beautiful instruments, and I wasn't really looking forward to it when they said, "Oh, we're going to send you a student model instrument to test." Until it came, and the first thing I thought was the case. How beautiful the case is, which I'm going to keep, by the way. Sorry, Besson, if you're listening. The case itself is great. It's really fantastic. It's a sturdy case, but it looks like a gig bag. And then I got the instrument out, and I'm thinking, well, the finish looks all right. And the more I inspected it, the more I thought, it doesn't look all right. It looks fantastic. Myself and Steve, we go over to the factory in Germany, testing the professional instruments, the Sovereigns and Prestige instruments, monthly. And this is as good a finish as I've seen over there on the Pro line instruments.
Wow.
So I thought, well, there's got to be a catch somewhere. I couldn't find one. I had a blow on it. And it sat at the side of my computer because I just play along GarageBand and do different things on the computer. And it's my go-to instrument at the moment. It's really good. And so I just thought I'd do a little chat about it. It's only a very short 1 minute one, which I've just recorded for you, Phil. Before I cut my hair, I did it this morning, actually.
A little video, Roger?
A little video, yes. So I'll let you hear that now.
Cool.
Hi, I'm just going to have a quick look at the Besson Fridays range of cornets. At the moment, we've got one in clear lacquer and we've got one in bright silver plate. The clear lacquer one is better for you to have a quick look at because it'll show you that we have a red brass lead pipe, we have a yellow brass bell, we have nickel silver slides, altogether a great package. Stainless steel valves, obviously inside for durability. This is classed as a student model or an introduction line instrument. It's anything but that. This is a really great cornet. I recommend you go and try one. You can hear me playing in a couple of seconds. Here we go, both of them together. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for sharing that video, Roger. That was the new Besson Fridays cornet, which is in stock now. So if anyone wants to get their hands on any of those, then perhaps get in touch with your nearest stockist. Thanks very much. So we're moving towards the end of tonight's broadcast. It's been a great pleasure again. Before we go, we have had some questions sent in, and I would encourage all of you to get involved with these Besson Fridays at home and send in your own questions, please. We can take them via Facebook or email or however you want to send your questions in. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and we hope to feature your question in this segment of the show. So I've got a question from Graham Smith in Blackburn, and it's for you, Shona. So if you could answer this, please. Graham says, Shona, you have perhaps the most beautiful tenor horn sound that I have ever heard. Where did that sound? Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Nice.
Where did that sound come from? Did you emulate someone else, or was it just always inside you? Good question.
Okay. Yes, I've always had that sound from the minute I went onto a horn. I've never had to do anything to improve my sound. My sound has obviously matured as I've got older, but it's the fundamental sound is always there. And because of that, sound is everything to me in my playing and always has been. I do a lot of singing at work, and I listen to a huge selection of vocalists. I listen to singing a lot, and they're my main influences. But one in particular, Karen Carpenter, from a young age was a huge influence, and it was more the not changing in the register from low, middle, high. Everything just stayed the same. It was just like melted chocolate, velvet melted chocolate, and I just wanted to play like that on my horn. And she was always never did anything twice. It was the first take in the days where you just did something live and that was it. And I kind of wanted to be like that as well, where I could just emulate that. So that was for me.
Beautiful.
Wow, fantastic. Well, that's impressive that you've only ever done one take of anything in your life.
That's not true. I've tried, I said. I've tried.
So can I ask the same question to Mark then? I mean, who are your kind of idols? Who do you model your sound on?
Well, growing up, my two idols, first one was Brian Taylor. Brian Taylor used to teach me. He used to take me down to fairies. Whenever fairies were in the area, my dad always used to take me to watch fairies. So fairies were always my sort of band growing up. But don't tell anyone from Foden's. So they were always my band. So he was always one of my role models. And the other one, I'm not just saying it because he is here, is Roger. So growing up, I listened to Roger's CDs. I still do. And for me, he's my favourite cornet player, not taking anything away from all the other fantastic cornet players that we currently have. So I listen to, a bit like Sheona, I listen to a wide range of vocalists and also cornet players, and I also record myself a lot. It's surprising when you play something, it never actually sounds the same as it does on a recording. So by recording things, I listen back, I'm happy with that type of sound, and then always try and work on my sound. So I'm always trying to produce the best sound that hopefully I can do.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, sorry to interrupt the Mutual Appreciation Society. we need to wrap things up, but I think, Steve, there's one more question, isn't there, which I'll leave you to ask.
Yeah, this is for Roger. This came on the 4 Bars Rest Facebook page. It's from Glyn Richards. I think you may know him. You've definitely seemed to have contact with him in the past. I would like Roger to show me how to play a scale with no valves. I used to do it thanks to him, but it doesn't seem to work, and I'm also a little bit out of practice. So, Roger, this is our wonderful...
buy a trombone.
This is a wonderful live
Does
moment.
he want any particular scale or just
I think D flat minor.
Oh, do you want a minor scale?
No. Wow.
Better than I can do with valves.
Wow. I thought Karen Carpenter was in the room for a minute.
And that's on the student, the Protease range.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, do not try this at home. That sort of message on that. Fantastic, great. Well, thanks for that live piece of cornet demonstration there from Roger.
That was better with valves.
In fact, thanks to you all for joining me again this week. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed our little chat that we've had here this week. And so we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Send your questions in. We'll delve into the postbag again, and we'll have some more fantastic guests for you next time. But for now, it's good night from me, and it's good night from Stephen Mead and Roger Webster.
See you again.
Good night, and a big thank you to our special guests, Shona White and Mark Wilkinson.
Thank you very much.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.